So hello and welcome to Mixologist, the place on the internet thingy where we see what we can get away with. Case in point, this unit that I've got here, this is a Weber 48 DCO SP, not to be confused with a Weber DCOE, and this is essentially basically the racing version of a Weber DCOE. So this is meant for, like for competition only. And what I said at the beginning of the video is we're going to see what we can get away with. And what I mean by that is this unit is in relatively, obviously it looks a bit, it needs some attention, but it's not that bad. Let me bring it a bit closer. As you can see, this is a kind of 48 DCO SP, so not DCOE. This is quite important, and as you obviously you can see here, it's got kind of good return springs. The carbs are all complete. Obviously this will need some attention, this the locking nuts that hold the venturis, but that's fine. I can get the tabs that hold it on. The trumpets are in quite good condition, so this is actually a pretty good unit. Obviously it needs a little cleaning, but here's what I'm trying to get at. So in this episode, what I'm going to try and do is, first of all, I'm gonna kind of disassemble the unit and then see which bits need cleaning or not, how much of a kind of kit and several things I need to buy or not buy. So therefore this is going to be a bit of an exploration of how much can you service or not service a carb without completely taking it apart. And this is I think this is a relatively good representative example of a carb that you can buy off the internet. Obviously you're not sure if it's gonna work or not, so you want to give it a bit of a once over, and that's what we're gonna do here. We might end up kind of tearing it completely apart and completely rebuilding it, and that's okay. But initially what we're gonna try to achieve is trying to not do that and see, okay, what are the bits that need cleaning and how do we get it, if we can get them cleaned by not completely disassembling, that would be better. So what we're going to do now is let's start the disassembly process of the unit and see what's the condition inside, because obviously I haven't opened this unit. I've no idea what lurks beneath kind of thing, so we need to do that right now. Okay, so I think we're in a good place, relatively speaking, in the sense that the carb, yeah, it does have a little dirt and one or two issues, but nothing, you know, terrible, nothing that can not be, you know, sorted out. But before I do that, I want to make, before I go into the cleaning, that is, what I want to do is I'm going to make a little commentary around what is supposed, this carb is supposed to be. So, because it was sold to me like if it was a race carb for a mini, and actually it's close but not entirely there. So I'm gonna give you that information, and then what I'm going to do is I'm gonna compare the DCO SP to the old DCOE, so you can see the differences between the two of them. So let me bring a bit closer. Let's have a quick look. Okay, so the car has 42 chokes, which is nearly maxed out, because if you remember, if you haven't watched this channel for a while, I'll just repeat it very quickly. Weber carburetors, if you want to max them out, they work on the rule of 5. Yeah, so basically the maximum kind of choke size needs to be 5 numbers below the bore size. So if we are on a 48 here, the maximum choke that you're allowed is a 43, which is one more than this. So this carb is nearly maxed out. Yeah, so you've got the auxiliary venturas, the standard ones, they're okay. The trumpets, they need a little bit of work. They have a little bit of corrosion there, but you know, they should be fine. What is puzzling though, ooh, I need to show you what are the bits that we need to change now. So obviously this gasket is a rubber gasket actually, but this needs changing because look, it's I wouldn't reuse that. This gasket from the bottom as well is an original one. It's quite nice, but let's not reuse it. But it's always, you know, when you take the bottom cover off, this is really good to assess the condition of the carburetor, because if you take this cover off and you see a lot of sediment here, that's a bit of a we got a problem. But in this case we don't. So let's see. Needle and seat assembly, always take a note of the number. This is at 250 and we're gonna have to change it. Why? Because if you look in there, I don't know if you can see it, that it has like a line there. It's like a line of wear. So therefore this tells me this needle and seat assembly is gonna need changing completely. So let's have a look. What have we got? So we got 55 F9s on the idle. We got 175 air correctors on the main, F2 tubes and 170. And we got 100 Weber bleed bag for the accelerator pump. I'll explain in a minute what that is. However, and this is the book that I always use for tuning Weber carbs for mini applications, is the book by David Weissert. By the way, I don't get any sponsorship. I paid for it with my own money. And I've done, and I have to say, I've done like tens of mini carbs using the guidelines from this book, and they've always worked mint. So what it tells me here is that these main jets should be at least at 200. The idle is okay, but the pump jets, so basically the pump discharge, which is here, should have been 55, and we got 45s here. So not quite, it's not that bad, but it's not quite there. What we're gonna do is we're going to compare the DCOE with the DCO SP. Yeah, because again, as I said at the beginning of the video, a lot of people confuse them. They're not the same. So let me bring you a bit closer. I've got a 40 DCOE as an example. so you can see them side by side. On this side, what you will notice is that the DCO SP, they have a different throttle return mechanism, and because basically what happens is that this window is slightly narrower than here, maybe because they got to accommodate a larger bore, so therefore the throttle return spring from the DCOE comes down kind of like so, whilst in here is built in kind of into the shaft. The other thing to notice is that you haven't got provision for a choke, and therefore if we look at them a bit like so, you will notice that you have got basically the accelerator pump plunger and the rest of the accelerator pump circuit, but you've got absolutely nothing relating to the choke and the return spring in here. Yeah, so the other differences you can see, DCO SP hasn't got this inlet here, which is the inlet for the choke mechanism, and if you look here, you haven't got this. This is like an idle, like a bleed back, an idle bypass circuit, so it's got nothing to do with a choke. And obviously the idle mixture screws are a little bit different. So those are one of the differences between these two units. Again, it's easy to confuse them, but they're not the same. So therefore, I hope you found this useful. And now what we need to do is we need to start the process of cleaning these units, the 48, trying and see how clean we can get it, and so that hopefully it won't require ultrasonic tanking, but we'll see where we get to. Okay, I think so. Now we're ready for kind of the midway kind of update on the project, and I think I kind of got away with what I wanted to get away, which is that at the beginning of the project, what I wanted to do was I wanted to kind of rebuild these carbs without having to kind of take the shaft or the throttle plates out. So as you can see, I think I've achieved that. And so I'll bring you a bit closer and I'll show you all the rest of the bits. Okay, so now what you can see is the throttle plates here. They are in quite good condition. They've been cleaned, and also there was a little bit of like carbon deposits here, so that has been kind of sorted out. And also the body of the carb has been kind of blasted through, so now it's looking, you know, a lot cleaner than it was before. And if you look at the top, now it's looking, you know, much better than it was, and the bottom as well is now clean. And I need to show also kind of all of the innards of the carb are absolutely kind of clean as a whistle. So what we need to do now is the tuning process. So I've got 200 main jets, which is what this required. These are 170, so I got the 200. I'm waiting on the pump discharge, the 60s, which I've ordered, so that's still to come. And obviously waiting on this O-rings here, which you always have to renew with this sort of carbs, and for the new needle and seat assembly and the new gasket. So once all those kind of bits and bobs arrive, I'll be, you know, ready to slam this unit together, and that's it. Call it golden. Okay, so finally it's a few weeks later than the last segment, but I have received a delivery of parts here. So I'll show you what they are, kind of what I discussed in the previous segment, which are the larger kind of discharge valves, obviously needed jets, which I had, my needle and seat assembly brand new, and this gasket for the bottom, and the O-ring for the for the pump discharge, and obviously the top gasket there, which you need. So I think I'm ready now to assemble this. There is one thing that I'm gonna there has some particularities here, which is here. When you've got this area here, goes like this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put like a gasket compound, something like this, and in order to seal this area. It does, I don't know if it does need sealing, but it's a little bit better if it is sealed. I pre-gamed, a couple of bits and bobs in there, and I also have my discharge valve without holes, which you need for when you use a DCO SP into a kind of British Leyland application. Okay, I think I've completed the unit now. One of the things that I do have to say, a little tip, is that before you just go ahead and slam the unit together, it's always good if you take notes of the settings. So I do this on my phone. But okay, what's the main jet? What's the emulsion tube? What's the air corrector? What's the idle jet? What's the accelerator pump discharge? And all of those things. What's the choke number as well? Because as you're doing that, when you're assembling the unit, it's much easier to take those notes down. Whilst if you've already put the unit together, then it's going to be much more difficult to do it. So that's just one final tip. So I'll bring around a bit closer and I'll show you the final condition of the unit, which I think is absolutely brilliant. This has been, well, obviously thoroughly cleaned. You can see here that the accelerator part, that the throttles work very well. This is the kind of throttle action you're looking for. And all of the bits, are nice and shiny. I decided to keep this thing it came with, even though it's not original, because it's somewhat lower profile, and it seems that for the mini application, somebody shaved a bit there. So I put a like a plug there. But anyway, and also I think the settings weren't exactly right for a racing mini. So now I think they actually are. Look at this. The amount of airflow you can get down there, which is absolutely brilliant. There we go. So yeah, so this carb is ready now to hit the road, kind of British Leyland Mini style with the right settings. So I want to say kind of thank you for watching this episode. If you got any comments or questions, just put it down in the comments. And if you haven't got any comments, I'll see you on the next episode.